Today's lesson is going to be solving equations, one of the most foundational things from Algebra 1. So you're going to find a lot of this really easy. And then there'll be some parts of this that you'll find medium level, in which case, no big deal. If you struggle with this a little bit today, it's not a big deal. One of the ways to help get you feedback on practice is we're going to be doing IXL. There is IXL instructions in your email that was emailed to you yesterday evening. It has your login, it has your password. It may or may not be the login and password you used last year. So make sure you use the one that got emailed to you because that's the only one connected to my class. And if for some reason you don't have an email or you can't figure it out, there's also a link on the Google Classroom to help you recover your username and help recover your password. So the best place to try to log into IXL is to first go to your email and find IXL's email. You can literally just type in IXL into the search bar. It'll likely be one of the first 2 or 3 emails that pop up when you type it in the search bar. But there's also a way to do it. Another way, you can recover your username. You can reset your password. There's all sorts of things you can do. Anyways, on the top left here, very easy to solve one-step equations. When there's 3x, you have to remember it's 3 times x, meaning to do the opposite step, and everything on solving equations is by doing the opposite step. So you get some simple answers, and these go really quick. This fraction bar means x divided by 8, so you do the opposite, and you multiply by 8, and you get 16. Ridiculously easy here. You guys all know this. You probably even knew this in grade school. And same thing here, careful of your negative numbers. Yes, you get negative numbers, and these notes are going really quickly, and one-step equations are very easy. Two-step equations are not too hard, but people do make mistakes sometimes. When you have two-step equations, you'll have a number term and a variable term on one side, usually the left, but you can have things set up accidentally the other way, and usually a number on the right. The first step is always going to be do the opposite of the number part and leave the variables alone to start. 10x and 35. And then you'll get to do 2 steps, one of them very similar to the top left of the notes here, and the second step very similar to the first exact problem on the top left. Occasionally you'll get decimals. I believe there's no rounding today, but be prepared. There could be an exact decimal here or there, and we will get to problems where you have to round and you get weird decimals eventually, so don't be afraid of decimals. Decimals do come up in this class, 10 to 20% of algebra problems. Most of the time we have things come out to be a whole number, but there's plenty of times we don't, and plenty of units we don't. All right, now the bottom, which is the whole reason we're actually doing these notes instead of just jumping into the IXL for most students, which is things that look a little bit unusual. Fraction bars are the 2 things on the bottom left. And for when you have the fraction bar on the whole left side, it's very similar to the second problem. You have to do, excuse me, I'm going to color code that differently. You're going to have to do the opposite and multiply by 2 on both sides. That leaves you the whole numerator, x plus 5, and it changes the other side to 18, and it gets rid of the denominator. Then all you do is you have a simple subtraction step, and you're done. X equals 13, and we're good to go. It's different when the fraction bar is only on part of the left. Similar to the top right problem, you'll have to first do the opposite of the number part. Leave yourself a fraction bar across the entire left, and only then can you multiply. So these notes will be useful to refer back to if you get stuck on when do you have to multiply, which step comes first and which step comes second. It's easily confused. It's also something that easily gets dealt with after practice. Everybody should know from our last lesson that you can distribute, and you just have to make sure when you distribute to both things, so not 5x minus 2, 5x minus 10. This point here, honestly, I think you know these 2 steps. 2-step equations are very easy. It's something we do quite a bit in geometry, and we do 3-step equations, which we'll be reviewing tomorrow. And sorry, not necessarily tomorrow, depends on the class. We'll be Three-step equations will be reviewed Monday in all my classes. I apologize for mixing that up. And at this point here, two-step equations should be very easy, not a big deal. Careful with negative numbers. Already, I'd say probably more than half of people that have been really focused and paying attention the first 2 days of class, negative numbers have tripped some people up. So if that's the case, let's be careful here again. When you add a negative, it's better to rewrite it as subtraction. I'm not going to solve more two-step equations. I'm assuming you can do the 2 steps. This answer of 8, I did not show the work. If you'd like to do the work yourself to see that it works out, please do. When you have a double negative, remember to keep change like we did in the Kahoot the first day. Write that as an addition sign. And again, I'm not showing the steps. I know you guys can do this if you needed to, and if you want to check your work, see if you can do the 2 steps and get -1 as your answer. Lastly, we did our last lessons combining like terms. +2 and careful. It should be 2 minus 3, which is -1. Separately, it should be -7x plus 4x. And if you're not good with negative numbers, you might accidentally write -11x. Be careful. -7x plus 4x is -3x. This one here, I'll do the final steps and we'll be done with our notes in about a minute. -3x equals -27. Excuse me, I have a negative sign here in the problem and it did not come through nicely. I'm going to see if I can make that look nice. I'll have to put it up there. So the -28 was not written nicely. I apologize. And when you divide by -3, a negative divided by a negative gets you a positive answer. Excuse me as I'm out of space.